Insomnia. I've had insomnia since I was little. I remember all the times my mom stayed up late, and I, like the little tick that I am, would hang on to her and not sleep for the same amount of time until she finally deigned to rest her head on a pillow for a moment. I haven't been able to sleep well for as long as I can remember, basically. And it's not that it really bothered me either, it's like a private moment with myself during the night. Plus, it doesn't affect my daily performance. Maybe it does, but it doesn't really matter to me. I've always been told about this, but I don't really care. It's not like I can change it anyway, this is just the way I am, and I have no way of fixing it. Besides, as a hero, it could even go in my favor, right? You know, like Batman, a nighttime hero who watches over the villains while everyone else sleeps, always keeping an eye on them from the sky, keeping the city safe. And to be honest, the photos taken of the heroes under the moonlight with the stars in the background look much better than those taken under the daytime sky. I've always been a night owl. Needless to say, driven by my own emotions while immersed in my thoughts and hobbies in the hours I have to myself. Writing about heroes in my notebook, studying, training from time to time. It's a good way to manage my time in a meaningful way, with a good sense of purpose. Even though it's also boring to always be alone, I don't really like it, being in silence for hours on end where I even forget what my own voice sounds like, or that I even have a voice, doing everything in complete silence so as not to disturb others. Although since they added the Hyde Alliance apartments, it's become a little more difficult to maintain this lifestyle. At home I could go out, walk to the kitchen and eat whatever I wanted, although I think here I could even frowned upon. I don't want to eat Sato's pancakes and have him smash my face like mashed potatoes the next day. But that doesn't stop me from continuing to enjoy some things. They say that the dead and the souls in pain sleep when there is a silence that does not let you hear even the beat of your own heart, that kind of silence that occupies all the places in the world where there is nothing that generates something. They say the dead and the lost sleep when the silence that doesn't even let you hear your own heartbeat comes, the kind of silence that fills every corner of the world where there's nothing to generate anything. Not even a broken fan or a few breaths while you sleep. Nothing. On the darkest and most desolate nights, the hearts and minds of those tormented rest at the hour of sleep, relaxing after a stressful day. It could be a dismissal, a failed relationship, a deception, a betrayal, a death, a tragedy, so many bad choices, but they all always end the same way. At the end of the day, the brain sleeps. No matter how hard it schemes and works, solving or searching for answers to both bad and good things, there comes a time when Morpheus's unconsciousness takes over and takes them to another earthly plane. Except for him. Okay. Carefully. His steps, still small and clumsy, trying to maintain silence, disrupt the intimacy that existed between the night and the stars and the peace of serenity. But he doesn't really care. Going down the stairs in a relatively ordinary way for 4 a.m, the boy aspiring to be a hero takes this little routine of his with a certain degree of everydayness. The sound of his slightly labored breathing shows that he's not really a fan of stairs, but it doesn't bother him at all either, it's just that keeping quiet while going down them is quite difficult. He arrives at the main dining hall shared by all the students in his class. He already knows it like the back of his hand, having gone there countless times to get a cup of coffee or something refreshing at this point in his life. Even trying to maintain his silence at times, it's not easy. It's happened several times that he accidentally woke someone up, and that doesn't surprise anyone. It was impossible to go unnoticed forever, but nothing that a few apologies and a brief interaction with a few words can't solve. Fortunately, there were few occasions where this happened, although he wouldn't like that number to increase. Open a door in one of the kitchen cabinets to take out a coffee pod, just to put it in the machine, and, on the other hand, put some water on an electric burner and begin to heat it gently. This was already common for him. His scarred fingers knew every sector of the coffee maker like a faithful lover connected to his caffeine-filled heart. He sighs and yawns. Not being able to sleep doesn't relieve his tiredness, he needs to regain his energy. And what better than a cup of coffee? I could maybe, he hesitates for a few moments before doing what he had planned. She opens another cabinet and takes out some small chocolate cookies, only to put them in a bowl and leave them at her disposal on the counter next to the dining room, perfect for eating with a hot cup of coffee. While doing this, he did not notice that footsteps were also approaching, awakening the souls chained to their sins in the night of eternal rest. Midoriya? A female voice makes him jump slightly, which surprises him, but doesn't mean he dislikes it. Yaoyorozu Momo, the class representative, a responsible girl with a 10-student image. It's not really surprising, a refined and elegant image always appeared whenever she appeared. Even at first he had a hard time adapting to the nonsense of his classmates, but with time, he understood them and even laughed with them, at one point looking at them as if they were apes themselves. But what was a girl like her doing here at this hour? Maybe a late-night snack, the boy thought. "Oh, you scared me so badly, Yaoyorozu," the green-haired boy said, clutching his chest in an exaggerated manner. "I'm sorry, that wasn't my intention." She apologizes elegantly, as only she knows how. "What are you doing at this hour?" The teenager looks at his other hand, which was holding the hot water. "Playing cards." "And you?" He answers ironically and a little sarcastically. That comment bothers the girl a little, but she doesn't complain. It was a rather obvious question. "My fault, it's obvious what you're doing." She takes a seat at the side of the bar, sighing a little loudly. The freckled man notices this, and even though he has his back turned, he turns his head towards her. Looking over his shoulder, he says, "So what brings you here?" He pours the hot water into the cup while placing it under the coffee maker, which begins to make a slight sound, indicating that it is working. "Nothing, I came for the same reason as you. You know, a late-night coffee." She shows a slightly tired expression. Well, then I guess you want me to do you too, while I'm at it. Right?" She puts on a small, comfortable smile. She doesn't answer, just nods with a small grunt as if that were enough to say yes. He does his job, and as soon as he finishes the coffee he was preparing, he takes the cup and hands it to the president. An exchange of "thank you" and "you're welcome" is shown before the boy puts the machine back in motion while he makes his own. "Can't you sleep?" the brunette asks. "Actually, I never can." He answers simply. "Ah, so you're that kind of guy." He raises an eyebrow slightly and turns, looking at her from the kitchen with confusion but a small, playful smile. "What do you mean, that kind of guy?" "You know." He takes a small cookie to eat and answer, still not swallowing it and with his mouth full. "That kind of guy who acts mysterious, although I didn't expect that from you." "That attitude." No, Yaoyorozu catches the boy's attention, making him slightly amused. The girl, so refined, now acts before him as if she's known him all her life. "Are you being interesting?" "I'll take that as a compliment." He turns around again, finishing making his coffee. "Compliment?" she asks, puzzled. "Yep, if you're saying I'm being interesting, which, to clarify, I am." He turns to her again, but this time with the coffee in one of his hands, sitting opposite her at the bar. "I'm not doing it, that means something." The charcoal-eyed girl's eyes look at him strangely and curiously, but still a little tired, yet focused on him. Her face shows curiosity about what he's saying, so she continues her monologue. "Do you know what it means?" "No, enlighten me, Nostradamus." Still curious, she mocks him a little. Still dismayed by this new Momo in front of him, he replies, "It means you find me interesting, or at least I catch your attention." A mocking smile appears on his face, as if he has hit the nail on the head, only to find himself faced with a girl with a sarcastic smile and a mocking look in front of him, who, even with her tired eyes, shows how the situation amuses her. "You wish, not even in your wildest dreams." He takes a sip of his coffee. "So why do you have that image of me? As far as I know, I'm not the only one who can't sleep." The girl, still holding the coffee cup, answers, "Just because I'm awake doesn't mean I'm acting interesting. And neither do I." Touché. They both sip their coffees in comfortable silence, occasionally taking bites of the cookies, which, although it may not seem like it, count for more than they'd like. They're both tired, they both have a particular fondness for caffeine, and they both couldn't sleep that night. And who knows, maybe they won't sleep the next night either. But the silence they formed by chance seemed to silence everything around them, allowing everyone around them to rest. The sips of coffee and the crunching of light bites were barely perceptible, unable to be heard even by Mirko's own ears. They achieved the impossible, an environment so tranquil as to put the ghosts of their darkest fears to rest, bringing their minds to a state of inactivity beyond the ordinary. Nothing else was said after that. Absolutely nothing, not another word. They could only communicate through gestures and nods. And that was more than enough to understand each other. During the day, I couldn't help but see her. In classes, at practice, at meals. This girl was hovering around my head like a pesky fly that wouldn't stop chasing me. But it was strange. It just didn't seem like her. He looked so different. I know Yaoyorozu is a refined, elegant girl, and all that. But she's also human, and obviously she's going to have her moments like that, but seeing her so natural, without being, well, normal for Yaoyorozu. It's strange. Now she's sitting on the couch with the other girls, sipping tea and chatting casually. She displays that polite and formal side of her, like a royal lady, raising the cup with her pinky sticking out, her legs crossed, one on top of the other, her hair elegantly tied and perfectly arranged, her skin gleaming and even looking polished. Hell, I even think I ran into a completely different woman last night, she looked so changed. Disheveled, with dark circles under her eyes, sitting as if after a long day at work, joking around, and even having a personality. Similar to Ashito's. It's strange. I think I should stop looking at her. They'd probably think I'm a stalker. But I like this. I like this new side of Yaoyorozu, and I'd also like to get to know her a little better, get to know this side of her more. Meet her. 4 a.m, again, he woke up. He looks at his phone, which displays a message saying, "In 3 hours, the alarm will sound." Shit, the green-haired man mutters empty-mouthed. He knew this life was doing something bad to his health. It's not good for a hero, or rather, a developing teenager, not to get enough sleep or rest, but it didn't really matter, it didn't affect him at all. Maybe a little bit due to his physical development, but more than that, nothing, and he is not someone who is characterized by his physique. No matter how much he trains and considers himself physically fit, it's not something he's known for, rather, his intelligence is what helps him the most. Not to brag, but he considers himself a pretty smart person, or at least smarter than average. Again, not to brag, but you realize this once you see your classmates failing to solve something as simple as FX. Ugh. What a long day that was. The green-haired man remembers that situation as if it had happened yesterday. He opens the door to his room and heads for the stairs. Actually, at that time, Yaoyorozu and I were the first to solve it. Yaoyorozu. Shit, that name had stuck to his mouth like gum, impossible to get out and inevitably always reminding him of her. Since the early hours of the previous day, I couldn't help but think about her, even if I didn't want to. Everything he saw or thought led him to associate it with her. Had he been bewitched? Nah, it's probably just the doubt that she had that attitude. Right? Shit. This girl is keeping me awake at night, he whispers to himself. What girl? Oh, yeah, before continuing with what he was saying, he stops himself, turning around only to see the Queen of Rome herself. Already? He repeats with curiosity but also with a certain grimace that he already knows what she's referring to from the beginning. Izuku, nervous, looks away. And no one, he continues his way towards the kitchen, while Yaoyorozu follows him. Oh, come on, I'd like to know who has the great Midoriya so in love. That nickname makes the boy laugh, who, still nervous, answers. Great Midoriya? Thanks again for the compliment. I don't know if it will be fulfilled depending on how you look at it. MHM? The brunette girl moves a strand of hair from her face as she answers. If it's someone like Bakugo, maybe he means it more literally. What would that be like? The boy asks as he continues down the last few stairs, almost reaching the kitchen. The girl laughs a little at what she's thinking before saying it. Maybe it's ironic. The green-haired man, feigning pain and an offended attitude, turns around to face her. Are you calling me small? Draw your own conclusions, Midoriya. She heads to the same place as the night before. Incredible, Rey Mysterio, the freckled man mocks, walking over to the coffee pot and beginning his typical ritual to be able to take his long-awaited elixir. He puts a cup in the machine while hesitating to take another, saying over his shoulder to his companion. Do you want one? And what do you think, Sherlock? The teenager laughs and hands the first cup to her, who takes it without hesitation, then joins her again. Are we going to make this a routine now? PFF, I hope not. I couldn't stand seeing you every night. Ow, how bad, I didn't think it would be so bad to see me. He hesitates for a moment whether to respond to that, but stops, wondering if there isn't enough trust yet. She takes a sip of her coffee, feeling her cheeks warm from the liquid and relaxing slightly. The boy sees how his posture changes slightly, no longer so tense and taking on a more natural look. It feels like you're getting a massage. I could do with one, now that you mention it. She looks at him with a look that speaks 1,000 words. He, noticing this, throws his hands up in the air. Hey, don't look at me like that, don't even think about it. Too late, I already did it. She answers, laughing a little. Midoriya, with a slight smile on his face, leans back in his seat, letting his back stretch. It was nice to spend this kind of time together, even though it was something new, it's something you could get used to at some point, Plus, it's always good to have someone to talk to. He moves his hesitant eyes toward the window on his side, only to see the campus in total darkness, illuminated only by the stars above their heads. You know, it always caught my attention. The brunette says to the air, without taking her eyes off her coffee. The boy shows attention to the black-eyed woman's words. If I weren't here to be a hero, I'd like to be an astronomer. This surprises the boy. Astronomer? Why? What do you care? This surprises the boy a little, but only to notice that she holds back her laughter and then bursts into soft giggles at what he said. Sorry, I had to do it. Ha ha ha, how funny. He says sarcastically. Well, bitter. He continues. I always liked learning about space. The constellations, the stars, the planets. She looks out the window, the same one the green-haired man had looked out of earlier. Isn't it incredible to think that you can see something that is millions of miles away? I never thought about it, but now that you mention it, yes, it is impressive. Can you imagine how big they must be for us to only see a twinkle? The brunette's eyes feel as if they're being lured by the mere thought of having something like a star in person. Of course, with reason. What are you talking about? The millionaire girl dreams of the only thing she couldn't have. This comment puts Momo off a bit, and she looks at him annoyed, but also intrigued. I mean, the boy tries to compose himself after seeing what he said. That's not what I meant, but rather. Still searching for his words, the brunette interrupts him. I've been through so many experiences that my dream is to try something so new that no one else has tried. That's what you mean, right? Not exactly, but it's similar. The girl lets out a sigh. Hey. Well, I guess you're kind of right. The green-haired man looks at her attentively. My parents indulged me with everything I wanted, or asked for, ever since I was little, so as I grew up I realized it was all so empty. He looks at his coffee with a bit of nostalgia in his tired eyes. I realized it didn't really matter if I had everything I wanted if it didn't help others. He takes a small sip of his coffee. Why have everything at my disposal if I can't share it or make it useful to anyone? The girl puts a hand on the back of her neck and scratches it lightly, moving her disheveled hair at the same time. The green-haired man only listens to her at all times, without making a sound for fear of interrupting her. I mean, that's why I want to be a hero. Look at my quirk, I can literally generate anything. She mentions while taking a pencil out of her body. It's almost ironic when I think about it, it's like. Your quirk will represent you. Complete the sentence the brunette was going to say. Your quirk allows you to generate everything except life. The most useful thing. It doesn't allow you to create life, as if it were someone to share your things with. The girl looks at him, astonished. Wow, Midoriya. I knew you were smart, but not to this extent. The freckled man, a little embarrassed, looks away. Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, please continue. Don't apologize, it's nice to have someone to talk to about these things, the girl says, taking a long sip of her coffee. The emerald-eyed one notices this, calling his attention. It's pretty late, and I think we should at least try to get some sleep. Don't you think? She gets up from her seat and tries to pick up her cup, but stops when she notices another hand grab it before her. Hey, don't worry, I'll wash them before I leave. The boy takes the 2 cups and heads to the sink while Momo just looks at him with a loving look. Her eyes almost seem to radiate affection and warmth, along with a soft smile painted as if it were a still fresh canvas in a work of art. Thank you, Midoriya, she murmurs in a low tone, just enough for the boy to hear her. You're welcome, go to bed now. She begins to wash the few remaining dishes. The girl, without saying anything else, wishes the freckled man goodnight and heads towards her room, still thinking about the conversation they had. I didn't ask him anything about him, she mentions to herself as she goes up the stairs and walks away from the room. On the other hand, a boy with freckles on his face washes some cups and plates, with a smile on his face. In the end, what he wanted came true. Get to know her a little better. Maybe with a little more luck, next time, they can get to know each other and become more than just late-night coffee buddies. Izuku Midoriya, it's a curious name, indeed. I never really thought about it. I mean, why would I? I didn't really notice or think about it too much until now. But here I am, unable to get it out of my head. Actually, it's not exactly him I'm thinking of, but rather our conversation yesterday. He's changed a lot since last year. He's stopped being that scared kid and is now a brave, strong-willed person who will stand up to anything just to maintain peace and quiet. It's admirable, indeed. You could say I even feel Proud? I don't know if that's really the word I'm looking for, but I think it's the closest thing. I mean, proud in the general sense. I feel proud of myself and everyone in the class. We are becoming every day what we once dreamed of, overcoming our fears and improving based on them. And Midoriya is the best example of all that. He's been through so much and thrived on it as if nothing had happened. Even with scars that will last a lifetime, both mental and physical, he's still standing tall and with the same, or even stronger, will than before. He's truly admirable. Tomorrow, he'll truly be a great hero. Hero. That word makes me think of yesterday's conversation. If he hadn't been a hero, what would he have been? Policeman? Military? He doesn't really look like one. I mean, he looks fit enough to be one, but I don't see him as having the personality to be someone with a gun. Well, more like, I didn't see it. Now, maybe I did. I mean, these days, he hasn't been the Midoriya I know. He seems so brimming with confidence and even a bit cocky. But not in a bad way, more in a nice way. He reminds me of Kaminari, in a way, although obviously, except for the idiocy and perversion. But anyway, these new things about Midoriya never cease to amaze me. Every time he passes by me in class, I can't help it. I want to know more about him. I'm genuinely curious. I want to know what he thinks, why he is the way he is, what made him choose to be a hero. I want to know him. I want to meet Izuku Midoriya. Ghosts are souls in pain that still inhabit the mortal lands, who, during the nights, rest their sins on the lap of what once was, their previous life. If then X is 19, and Z is 49. What does Y mean? Well, they would rest better if it weren't for a few things. Damn. I can't think. The girl, resigned, drops her pencil on her desk, illuminated by a soft warm light illuminating a corner of the room. She's tired, but she can't sleep. It's been a common occurrence for her for years. She can't control it. There are nights when she sleeps like a baby and nights when she stays awake until the rooster crows at dawn. You'd like to be like everyone else, perhaps, but it's not something you can complain about now. Besides, you can't complain about something as small as not sleeping. A simple insomnia isn't something you can't have as a problem in your life, and if it doesn't cause problems in your daily life, why fix something that isn't broken anyway? She gets up from her chair, in pain, and cracking her back in the process of standing up, makes a decision. It's time for night coffee. The past 2 days were a fluke, a coincidence, running into Midoriya in the kitchen. It's not something I plan on repeating. Coincidences happen, after all. But hey, that doesn't rule out the possibility that he might be there. It's similar hours to the other times, plus, he said he wasn't sleeping. It's not like I'm an owl. With a mocking smile and tired eyes, the girl laughs as she walks down the stairs of the shared building. It was hard to convince her parents to let her attend that school. A girl in her class living with other underclassmen? Not in her dreams. Wait, yes, in her dreams yes, because in fact, being a heroine is her dream, and right now, she is fulfilling it. You know what they say, women are the best at deceiving with words. A little begging and pleading was enough for her strict parents to give her the freedom to move there, and furthermore, to follow her long-cherished wish. To be the greatest heroine in all of Japan. Even though it's difficult with heavyweights like Midoriya. He grumbles his name like it's an insult when he sees him standing at the coffee pot again. Does this boy live there? The boy hears his name being mentioned with a slight tone of hatred, and turns to see the brunette, observing him with slight contempt. Good night, Yaoyorozu. Give me my coffee. Without hesitation, the boy hands her the coffee he was preparing. She takes it in her hands, feeling the warmth it transmits, and after a sip, a slight smile forms on her face as she feels the bitter taste run down her throat. Better? Much better. The boy smiles at that and heads over to one of the sofas in the living room. The brunette follows him, noticing that he already had another coffee ready. She decides not to ask about it. It doesn't matter to her, nor does it concern her. The guy looks too casual and calm, as if it were 3 in the afternoon for him, and not 4 in the morning. A slightly tight t-shirt, along with baggy pajama pants and a pair of regular all-might slippers, was her fashionable outfit. She wasn't judging, though. If any of her friends saw her, she didn't even know if they'd recognize her. She would feel embarrassed, but with Midoriya it's different. He's not a friend, he's just an acquaintance. They've known each other for a year and a half, and she's barely interacted with him. Maybe that's why she feels like she can be someone else with him. Maybe that's why she feels like she can be a little more Momo and not so much Yaoyorozu. In short, you don't have to maintain an image with him. What are you doing awake? I could ask you the same thing. Actually, you already did. She lets out a small laugh. Touché, Midoriya. Touché. She murmurs in a whisper to herself, even though she's answering her partner. Neither of them mentions anything for a while, both enjoying their coffees in a silence like last time, but only, at least for this time, it's different. She notices the freckled man with his phone, which catches her attention. What's he doing with his phone at a time like this? What are you doing? Nothing, I'm just reading a little. This slightly brightens the brunette's eyes. What are you reading? Moby Dick, he answers without taking his eyes off his phone. The screen illuminates the freckled man's face, and she can't help but notice the pronounced dark circles under his eyes. Is it really true that he never sleeps? Oh, I read it, it's really interesting and entertaining, even though. The girl is interrupted by the green-haired man, who says, a little annoyed, I'm 500 pages in, and the damn whale still hasn't appeared. The girl's eyes light up with grace, and a smile of laughter spreads across her face. That's exactly what I was going to say, she says, laughing. That catches the freckled man's attention, who looks up from his phone and looks at her, and unconsciously, he also starts laughing at the coincidence. Both of them took the situation with grace. It was something surprising and something neither of them expected, but it was something pleasant and fun. Well, that can be added to the things we have in common. He turns off his phone as he directs his gaze to the messy brunette. MHM? What things do you have in common? You know, not sleeping, reading, drinking coffee. The girl laughs again. You say that as if it weren't the most common thing in the world. Yes, but so far, you're the first person I've run into more than twice in the middle of the night in a week, so that counts as a point. A point? A point in what? He says with a slight mocking smile. The boy, like her, smiles, but with a self-centered grimace. And why are you so inquisitive? Because you catch my attention. This catches the curly-haired boy by surprise, who spits out some of the coffee he was drinking. He looks at her with his emerald eyes, surprised by what she said. She only responds with a laugh a little louder than before, denoting the humor of his reaction. Ha ha ha. You should have seen your face. She mocks, holding her coffee in one hand and covering her mouth with the other. Even with that casual and scruffy appearance, he maintains certain habits. Like it's that funny. The boy looks away, embarrassed, sighing tiredly. You caught me. The girl looks at him again. It was really fun to tease him. Without realizing it, Izuku sees her too. He feels his eyes connect for a brief moment, realizing he has a small smile on his lips. The green-haired man notices this, and changes his embarrassed image to a more blushed one, looking away. Have you ever been told that you have interesting eyes? This catches the teenager's attention, who looks at her curiously. Is Yaoyorozu Momo herself flirting with me? With a mocking smile, he laughs at his companion, who lets out a sigh and pinches the bridge of her nose. No, idiot, I meant more like. She is silent for a moment, thinking about her words. She didn't want to say that she was flirting with him, since it didn't make sense, it wasn't what she wanted to do, but she couldn't put into words what she was thinking without it seeming like that. You really have bright eyes. Brilliant? I mean, yes. Green hair and green eyes of the same shade, but they still seem to glow in the dark. Is that an effect of your quirk? Well, that's a strange way of saying I have pretty eyes. Thanks, you have pretty eyes too, the boy mockingly replied, closing his eyes with a victorious smile on his lips. Momo can't help but feel embarrassed for a moment by the way he's treating her. What are you saying? I never said I thought your eyes were pretty. Yaoyorozu's gaze flicked between her surroundings and Midoriya's, but still overcome with nerves, she looked back at him after realizing something. Wait. Did you say I had pretty eyes? Izuku, as if ignoring her, answers only the first part of her sentence. Do you think my eyes are ugly? He, with a slightly more playful tone, but maintaining a serious expression, thickens his voice, denoting as if it were something more suggestive. The brunette, cornered, tries to counterattack. No, I didn't say they're ugly, just that they weren't pretty. Besides, you still haven't answered my question. What question? Do you think my eyes are pretty? The boy, without hesitation, answers confidently, to tell you the truth, yes. I think your eyes are quite beautiful. I didn't say beautiful, I said nice. But anyway, it means you like them more than I like yours. So you like my eyes. Now a confident Momo tries to maintain an air of confidence and dominance in the conversation after her mistake. Well, what can I say? After you gave me a compliment, the last thing I can say is another. He failed. His voice showed a nervousness that the green-haired man wasn't going to let go. Who would have thought it? The class president, Momo Yaoyorozu, flirting with me. The teenager, surprised by what he said, doesn't want to be left behind, and responds to the mockery. Would there be a problem with that? Still blushing, he tries unsuccessfully to demonstrate control over the situation. So you're accepting that you're flirting with me? The green-haired man's smile widens even further at the feeling that he has the girl on the ropes. Well, I'll only answer that if you buy me something to eat. Okay, that wasn't in his plans. I think we can end this strange battle in a draw. The boy, feeling a little defeated, tried to stop as he felt things starting to turn against him. Who said it was a battle? I thought we were flirting. Sorry? Tomorrow, Friday. After school. Don't make me wait, she says as she gets up from the couch, her cup still half empty. The boy's astonished gaze shifts to her, walking around her just to pass her, but not before lightly running his hand over her shoulder, caressing it as if asking for something more. He follows her with his eyes, only to watch as she turns around after placing the cup in the sink, still with a slight blush on her face. And now that I remember, yes, I think you have beautiful eyes. Feeling victorious, she finishes and turns, heading for the stairs, returning to her room. Now the green-haired man is alone again in the living room, his mind processing what just happened. Did letting himself be carried away with her take him too far? Or is she also letting herself go? He wasn't going to complain anyway. Now he has a date with Yaoyorozu herself, it's not like he lost out. Autumn, a time of year when the cold of winter is still passing, but the hot summer is slowly approaching. Many say that this is the best season of the year. Izuku doesn't think the same. He loves autumn, like any season, but it is not his favorite. He enjoys the cold of it, it is comforting to him. Besides, the image of the leaves constantly falling against his hair and the wind blowing it wherever it wants makes him feel freer, but it's not enough to be his favorite. He really enjoys still wearing coats, gloves from time to time, and even going so far as to watch the frozen steam rise and vanish as it leaves his dry, cold chapped lips. But he doesn't like to see how life, slightly, is changing, taking other routes, taking on other styles. Midoriya, at the door of his prestigious institution, while waiting for someone, looks at the trees that are practically leafless. How ugly, he mutters to himself. What he doesn't like about autumn is the changes, but not temporary changes in the weather, but more. The permanent ones. The ones that make a big difference. Trees shed their leaves like lizards shed their skin, constantly renewing and evolving, improving upon what they once were, or sometimes taking steps backward. Izuku doesn't like change. It scares him. Since he was little, he has been terrified of change, of difference, of being different. Being a normal boy in a strange world, it's hard to explain what he feels, but in his own words. It's like I don't know how to change. Silently, he stares at the tree in front of him. Tall and powerful, it must be taller than Ryukyu itself, but its intimidating appearance doesn't take away from the inevitable fact. It is losing its leaves, which makes it characteristic of a tree. Izuku touches his hair lightly, with some doubt and fear, but at the same time, with a bit of certainty, as if the touch of his hair transmitted to his fingers a message that occupies more than 1,000 words in only a moment. Before he knows it, he begins to hear footsteps, a little hurried but determined, heading towards him. He turns around, looking towards the academy door, just to see her. So beautiful and incredible, she looks like she's straight out of a fashion magazine. Stunning like few others, and with the elegance unique to Yaoyorozu. It's a good thing you didn't run away, the girl said with a light laugh, taking steps one in front of the other, moving their feet in perfect synchrony as if under hypnosis, with black heels that already increased her height and legs covered in black stockings, tighter than some could ever dream of. Izuku's gaze could not go unnoticed by a Momo who was much more daring and overflowing with self-confidence. What are you looking at so much? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to. Don't bother, I understand. She raises a hand in front of her face. I know I look beautiful. I would say more like, attractive. Well, the image of a dominant and serious girl didn't last long, as she crumbled with those words, looking at him in astonishment and with a growing crimson on her porcelain-like cheeks. Excuse me? Apology accepted. The girl, annoyed but still embarrassed, lightly punches him on the shoulder as the boy laughs. She pays a little more attention to it, She doesn't look elegant, but she doesn't look casual either. She dressed as if it were a trip to the mall or as if it were just another moment with a friend. She doesn't really care about that, but it reveals the guy's intentions from the beginning. He didn't want to impress her, much less attract her with anything physical, but rather, he was looking for something more casual, a date with a mutual friend to eat somewhere and talk about whatever he wanted as long as they both enjoyed themselves. She, on the other hand, took it as she'd said yesterday, a date. Well, at least she thought that's what it was. She didn't really know Midoriya, but he wouldn't act that way unless there was some kind of interest in her other than romantic. Right? A kind and caring boy taking a dominant and sarcastic position, as well as with playful touches, seems totally wrong in her eyes, but at the same time, she finds it extremely interesting. Unconscious but not guilty, a slight smile forms on his face. I might enjoy this new side of my partner a little more. Where are you planning on taking me? The girl says, somewhat curious but also interested. He, taking the lead in the walk, but still maintaining a pace where he is next to her, glances at her and an idea crosses his mind, but he quickly dismisses it. I was thinking about a restaurant, or maybe something more casual. I mean, it's not dinner time yet, but it's not too early for coffee either. Who said no? He says, somewhat mockingly. As far as I know, dawn isn't a good time either. Touché, but that's an exception to the rule. She looks at him with a certain charm, but quickly removes her smile to show a slightly more serious, but still comfortable, face. Would you like some ice cream? In this cold? You said I had something planned, not that it made sense. With a light laugh escaping his lips, he gives the girl a nod. The green-haired boy, happy and sure of that answer, simply starts walking with the girl at his side, both walking together but not close, but with what they should be, half a meter away from each other, but still enough to feel comfortable. Even though they portray images of strength and security, they both know that they are not truly like that, and that together they simply show an image of who they are, but would like to be at some point. A more daring and confident boy. A more confident and less overly refined girl. They are just images of their heads being projected onto themselves in a comfortable company where they do what they propose and want, but even with all that, the unconscious dominates and shows itself, whether you like it or not. The freckled man's nerves and stuttering, like the elegance and high class of the jet black woman, came to light from time to time, but only to the amusement of the opponent in both cases. Izuku watches as she tries not to get all over her ice cream, even though it's much bigger than she expected. He notices how she uses too many napkins and, at the same time, is battling whether to use the plastic spoon or her tongue, only to end up using the former. He has a slight smile as he watches this. It's quite funny how he still maintains that clean style. He looks at his own ice cream, one that's being molded by his own tongue, shaping it so it won't spill or fall. I think this can define our personalities a little. The girl looks at him a little confused, asking him what he means. He, without much hesitation, answers, I mean, look at you, all elegant and well behaved, with the little spoon and the napkins. While he turns his gaze back to his ice cream, with this mess of cream and sugar, but still with a certain order in my own mess. Without hesitating much, the charcoal-eyed girl takes her ice cream and smashes the tip of it into the green-haired boy's face. He looks at her in astonishment and touches his cheek, which received the frozen attack. Looking at his companion, he barely feels the cold on his fingers. Yaoyorozu, she murmurs her name as if it were an unbreakable curse, just for her own good. She observes him more closely, and she's partly right. Even though she tries to appear more confident and self-assured in front of him, she's still the little millionaire girl studying to be a heroine. It's a face she's molded around herself that's practically unbreakable, and in a few nights, she can't change it like it's nothing. Even though she has that strange routine of drinking coffee with someone in the early morning, it's not enough to change a person's personality when they're around other people. But it doesn't bother her either, she really likes being that way. It's like a combination of both. A Momo with more confidence and who isn't afraid to do silly things, but at the same time, she's still as refined as ever, staying within her usual mold, but not being her usual self. It slipped out, she answers him with the same tone that brings a bit of hatred in a joking tone, and a smug smile with her eyes that, magically, seem to have slept all night with non-existent dark circles. I'm going to kill you, millionaire girl. Try it, Arbolito. She quickly backs away from the freckled boy as he chases her, still covered in cream. She can't help but laugh at the situation. It's something beyond what she's used to, but it's comfortable. She enjoys it and feels like it's a more intimate moment than just being with a friend in the park. Can you call him that? Friend? Are you really friends? The girl trips on one of her heels, feeling her body lose balance, only to realize that when she is inches from touching the ground, she is caught by something. Black Whip, the freckled man shouts, catching the brunette before she hits the ground, managing to slightly rescue her from her fall and dragging her towards him. The girl's eyes, wide open, look at him in surprise at what just happened, only for the boy to start laughing out loud, while she was still trapped by his quirk. "I wouldn't be finding it funny," she said, embarrassed, shifting her gaze from the green-haired man to the tentacle holding her. "So, could you let me go?" Wait, he takes a few breaths, trying to recover from his laughter, until, once he feels ready, he answers. "No." "Why?" "Let me go," the girl thrashes and moves frantically in an attempt to escape the Black Spectre's grasp, until she feels a cold hand rest against her cheek. She stops and looks at him, surprised again by what she did and feeling their eyes make contact with each other. Those emeralds embedded in those sockets, trying to imitate what eyes would be like, only to fail since they can't avoid their natural brilliance, look at her as if she were the most interesting thing in the world, or maybe she's the one doing it without realizing it. She feels a small blush form on her face. She can't help it. While she doesn't enjoy it, it's something she can't say she completely hates. She's starting to get a certain taste for feeling a little more shy in front of the freckled man. He gently caresses her face, slowly running his fingers over her cheek. He doesn't really know what he's doing, but he enjoys it as if it were already an art for him. He looks at her intently, occasionally shifting his eyes to admire her lips, and then alternating with that harmless, gentle gaze that couldn't hurt an ant. "So?" the girl says, without taking her eyes off him. This game they're playing is something she doesn't want to stop, as she enjoys it like never before. He just responds with a soft as if his mind is really off, still looking at her, appreciating her. Skin as white as snow, hair as delicate as silk, meticulously tied to make it as easy to manage as possible, yet still maintaining seriousness and maturity in that casual style. She looked so beautiful in his eyes that he couldn't help but think about it. "Did she ask me out?" The girl, with pleading eyes, as if asking for something more, stares at him. He, understanding this gesture, but still hesitant, does not dare to continue. "Midoriya?" He whispers his name as if he's begging for answers. The boy, trying to escape from that, can only think of one answer for that. This time, put his ice cream on his face. Hey, idiot. Now, the boy is the one who runs away from that whole encounter while he releases the girl from her whip and now escapes from her with laughter running through his throat. The girl starts chasing him, only this time, she takes off her heels, chasing him more comfortably as they go through several trees and plants. She can't help but laugh, but at the same time, she feels embarrassed by what just happened. It's something she can't even explain. What did she expect? And why did she feel so disappointed? At that moment, I didn't want answers to those questions, I was afraid. Fear of what they might be treated like. She can't help it. She can't. She's had this stupid routine with the guy for a while now and can't stop doing it. It's annoying to have him on your mind, you hate him. It feels like a thorn in your side that won't let you rest unless you're in his presence. Even without meaning to, he remembers it. Shit. During lunch you can't take your eyes off him, it's inevitable, and even more so if you see him talking to Ochako. It seems silly to say it in a certain way, but it can't be that you have this pang of feeling every time he gives those tender smiles to people. She's upset with him, she's really angry, and she needs answers before anything else. Answers to what you feel, to what you're thinking and feeling. You can't get it out of your heart and it doesn't seem like something you're planning to do. He feels this anger inside him, and as much as he wants to keep it for later, at night, to confront it, he can't do it, since just an exchange of glances between the coal and the emerald is enough for a silly smile to form on his face. What's wrong with him? Does this even make sense? Damn, he needs answers ASAP, and he can only get them from one place. From a tree that seems to know everything. "Good evening, Miss Yaoyorozu." He pronounces with a certain grace but at the same time imitating a tone similar to Kurogiri's. "Oh no, what a shame, and I was hoping for a solitary coffee." Just like him, she imitates his tone, this time adding more sarcasm. "Too bad. You just caught me thirsty. If you are thirsty, drink water. What if I take you?" The girl doesn't respond, she just laughs slightly as she looks at him. "Oh sure, I wouldn't even go back, you're so dry." The girl laughs a little more at the freckled man's comment, and just hearing her cheerful voice, a smile forms on his face. "You wish you had the opportunity to put that to the test." The boy begins his usual process of carrying out his repeated routine. It was common at this point to meet in the living room at a certain time. It was an unspoken agreement between them. They always kept it, without exception. During the day they were two strangers who sometimes even devoured each other with just a look, but at night they became the closest people to each other. Neither of them complained and they enjoyed the kind of relationship they had with each other. It was something common and relaxing between them, even more so since they shared things as intimate as a cup of coffee. Many say that coffee is not just a drink, but that coffee represents more. It represents a talk, a conversation, it represents thoughts, tranquility, stress relief. They both can agree, coffee is usually a good way to calm the mind. Hey, Midoriya. Tell me. The green-haired man looks at her from behind while he takes out the coffee capsules. God, that back, even though she's an elegant and refined girl, she also has hormones. You know? And? Sorry, I was just thinking. La Sabache disperses her thoughts and settles back down. You never told me some things again. This catches the freckled man's attention, and he turns to look at her. What things? You know, remember that night we talked about what we'd be if we weren't heroes? That question catches the boy's attention, who listens attentively. Yes, I remember. What about that? Well, you never told me your part. My part? He repeats confused, as if he doesn't really understand. You know, idiot. You never told me it would be you. The green-haired man's mind manages to click, understanding what she really meant, so he looks at her with quite a bit of doubt in his eyes while he thinks. I never really thought about it. He grabs his chin with one hand while exaggerating a face as if to show that he is remembering. So, did you always know you would be a hero? No. Well, actually, it never crossed my mind to be anything other than a hero. He finishes making the coffees and approaches her, holding both cups in each hand. He hands her his, and she responds with a thank you and sits across from him at the bar to continue the conversation. Well, I meant more like, I never thought of any job other than helping people as a hero. Being an assistant, an engineer, that sort of thing was also in my options. Obviously, always related to the heroic. So you've always been a hero geek. She says with a small, goofy smile as she watches him. So you're looking to start a fight with me? He replies with a smile, too, but in a more aggressive, yet mocking tone. She, laughing a little, corrects herself. No, I find him cute. This surprises the boy, who looks at her with a small blush on his freckles. Cute? Yeah, dude, think about it. You always wanted to help people like heroes do, one way or another, no matter what, you wanted to help people. It's kind of nice. This leaves them both thinking. The boy, being flattered, is surprised by the brunette's words, which took him completely by surprise. That someone sees his admiration for heroes in a different way is heartwarming. It makes him feel loved. On the other hand, the charcoal-eyed girl is doubting whether what she said was really the right thing to say. Maybe he takes it as something childish and simply doesn't give it the importance, or worse, he misinterprets it. Oh no. What if she misinterpreted him? She really screwed up this time. Did she really say that? She must have made him feel bad for his tastes and made him look like a little kid. Damn it, she'd better apologize soon, or maybe he doesn't even want to see her anymore. Maybe they won't get together again in the early mornings to have coffee together, and even worse, maybe she'll be alone again, and she'll just have to look at those green eyes that transmit his soul to her from a distance. Thank you. The green-haired man cuts her train of thought with sharp scissors as if it were nothing, finally letting her breathe fresh air upon hearing his voice, but still confused, she pays attention to his words. Thanks for seeing it that way. It's nice to see you took it from that perspective. Everyone always saw it as a childish thought. I really appreciate the gesture. The green-haired man slowly extends his free hand a little further, looking into her eyes. The girl, who already felt beads of sweat falling down her forehead, finally lets out a relaxed sigh, demonstrating her tranquility. The girl, a little hesitantly, also moves her hand toward the boys, though without making any other movement. The two remain inches apart. A distance that, in the vast universe, is fleeting, but for the two of them, it feels like an entire world. For them, this is their whole world. Momo, still nervous, takes her coffee and takes a sip, but after doing so, she makes a comment. You know, I think you're made of medical material. The green-haired man looks at her curiously, but also with a certain amusement. Doctor? Yes, I mean, look at you, you want to help everyone in any way you can, and with your intelligence, I don't think it's too difficult for you. I've never really thought about it. You never think anything. And how am I going to do it? If all I spend my time thinking about is you. Hey. Idiot. They meet again, whether they like it or not, they can't avoid it, it's something that's really beyond their capabilities. In the cafeteria, in the living room, in the classroom, in the kitchen. He can't control it. He wonders if it's always been like this, if she's always been so present, and if it's only because of what's happened in recent weeks that he's noticing her now. And he can't stop doing it. Was she always there? Before I just saw her as a pretty girl who was really smart, but I didn't really pay attention to her at some point during the day other than her talking to answer a question in class. And here he is now, without taking his eyes off him who knows how many times a day. He's becoming more and more certain that he was bewitched by the girl, and he's not a naive boy, he knows what it's all about, but he doesn't quite like the idea. She feels fear of what having those feelings might mean, fear of her past, fear of the change it might bring to her relationship and friendship. The way they bond with each other is so special and unique that he's never had it with anyone else. He couldn't find letting go like he does with her anywhere else but by her side. Sitting on the couch, he feels a presence take place next to him, paying closer attention, he notices that, indeed, it is her. Her heart slows slightly before she realizes the situation. Midoriya. Yaoyorozu. They both mention each other, trying to maintain a certain tone of seriousness while the others are present. She looks at him, those eyes dark as the starry night itself where they spoke of their dreams of being someone in the future. Those eyes control him even if he doesn't want to. If they asked him to go and rob a bank, he would do it if it would make them shine like the biggest star he's ever seen. Tonight there's something I want to talk to you about. Oh, okay. He tries to stay calm, but he can't, not being near her. It was a habit he'd outgrown over time, but even in October, it's something that still comes to light when he's near the jet. It scares him. They didn't say anything else during the time they were sitting together, she displaying an elegant appearance and he, completely unhinged by nerves and anxiety in her presence. But neither of them wanted to move from their places, after all, they appreciated each other's company. Even though they unfortunately couldn't talk as they always enjoy doing at night because everyone else was there, and they have an attitude to maintain, they still enjoyed being by each other's side. Although it's obvious, it could be even better with more than just an exchange of hello and goodbye. Again, another night. And there they are, talking as if it were the most interesting thing in the world, which, in their eyes, it indeed is. Silly smiles and playful glances are accompanied by clumsy jokes and non-stop laughter between the two. They got to know each other better over the last few weeks, going from just being acquaintances to friends, a change neither of them noticed, but they're not going to complain if they do. But Yaoyorozu can't help but think that every time she sees him, her breathing quickens. When he talks, she listens and jots down what he likes in her mental notebook. Favorite food, favorite color, passions, hobbies, everything. And it's not like she makes it conscious, it's so natural that she doesn't even notice. Every time a word comes out of his mouth, she only focuses on his lips saying it and imagining what it would be like. He looks at her, puzzled. Yaoyorozu? Realizing he's gone blank, he replies, sorry, I didn't realize. Scratching the back of his neck and feeling a little tired. He pays even more attention to her, watching her gestures and thinking about them. Are you sleepy? She just laughs at that comment and looks at him with those mocking eyes that tell a million jokes in a matter of seconds. Hopefully. So, what's got you so confused? Confused, she tells him off. Lost? I don't know why, but you seem more lost today. As if you weren't really here. And then it clicks, maybe she was too wrapped up in her head, but she didn't realize it, it's not the first time in the conversation that the green-haired man has called her attention. Could you do me a favor? She asks him softly, still hesitant, but perhaps with something in mind. Izuku nods hesitantly, still holding the coffee. Well, she stumbles over her words, as if, instead of her habit of thinking everything through before saying it, this time would be different. Could you say my name? Your name? Yeah. The boy, doubtful, but still curious, obeys him. Momo. And inevitably, a blush forms as her skin prickles at that. Shit. Damn. Why did that have to happen to him? Frustrated, she hides her face in her hands in shame, momentarily dropping the coffee on the table in front of them. He, not knowing what's happening, lets out some of his nerves, looking at her. Momomo? What's wrong? What's going on? And again, she feels goosebumps rise on her skin as her heart races. What's going on? Shit, he mutters so that it can be heard even with his hands covering her. Midoriya, confused, asks him. Is something wrong? Are you okay? Why do I feel this way, Midoriya? You can call me Izuku. Stop doing that. Do what? Making me feel like this. I don't understand what you mean. Damn it. Do you feel it too or not? But what are you referring to? Why is it that when you say my name you just make me want to keep hearing it over and over again? A silence dominates them both, the moonlight illuminates them slightly as the two stare at each other, connecting different sparkles as if by magic. The emeralds scream hope and fear while the coal is begging for answers with fear but at the same time, a certain desire in its words. Why do I feel like this? When you said my name. He clenches his fists in his pants. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like I could feel your voice rushing through me, paralyzing me and making my heart stop. Izuku stares at her speechlessly, trying to understand the situation he was in and searching for his own answers in his head. This couldn't be happening. Why do I feel so mad at you? I see you talking to other people, to more people, giving them those smiles of yours so sweet. I see you speaking to them with that tone that only you have and it bothers me like you have no idea. You make my blood boil like there's no name, but I can't help it. She clenches her fists tighter as her voice begins to crack slightly. But I can't be mad at you, I can't be, because the next time you look at me and smile at me, I'm going to act like nothing ever happened like an idiot. Why does this happen to me? He looks at his hands for a moment, feeling them tremble. Shit. Just look at me, I'm a bundle of nerves and anxiety just talking to you about how I feel. A hollow smile forms on her lips. I'm afraid to believe what I'm feeling and I don't like it. I've never felt this way and I don't know if I'm ready for whatever's coming. But I want to know, at least, if you have an idea of what it could mean. The boy gulps, swallowing nervously, but also with happiness. Preparing to respond, he opens his mouth, but before he can speak, he is interrupted. Wait. If it is what I think it truly is. I don't want this to affect us, I mean. No, don't pay attention to me. She hugs herself, ashamed of her own feelings and attitude at the moment of confronting something she considers an inevitable conflict. That brings a smile to the freckled boy, who laughs at his friend's confused look. Sorry. He murmurs, raising his hands as if to show calm. It just cracks me up. Funny? What's so funny about all this? A little distressed, she incriminates him. It's funny to me that I felt fear for something that we both felt. The girl looks at him, silent and shocked, as if she didn't understand what he had just said. Momo, this has been on my mind for a while. Ever since the second night we talked, in fact. I mean, I can't help it. He looks away, constantly shifting his gaze, flicking between her and his surroundings. When I saw this new side of you, I couldn't help it. You were so different. You kind of caught me, and I couldn't refuse to play along. It seems a little silly, but it's true. He gathers his strength for a moment and connects his eyes with hers, feeling that connection again. I'm glad to know that. In part, you feel the same way. I mean, now, every time you looked into my eyes, you just made my heart race and made me feel like it was a feeling in my stomach that I can't explain. He gets up for a moment from the couch where they were talking. I mean, look at me. He raises his arms to his sides, denoting himself. I'm an idiot with a power I haven't truly mastered yet and with a lot on my mind, but of all of them, my biggest concern was you. He lowers his arms. I was afraid that, by telling you this, we'd both change. That it wouldn't be the same friendship we had just out of a selfish desire. He approaches her, who withdraws into herself, pressing herself closer to the back of the chair with each step he takes. I believe I can give you an answer too. Your doubts. Only if you allow me to be by your side. With some confidence but fear, he reaches out his hand to the girl, who, when she has him in front of her, hesitates slightly to take it, only to then gently grasp it, also standing up next to him. Do you really think this, will work? You don't really know me, no more than what we've talked about here. It doesn't bother me. It's even better. There are so many things I want to know about you, and I hope it's the other way around, too. He leans closer to her, closing the distance between them a little more. You don't know me completely either. You don't know my fears, my peculiarities, like maybe I like things no one else likes, or vice versa. But that's the good and interesting thing about being in something more than just a friendship. Getting more into the other person, being a part of their life, a part of them in general. She looks into his eyes. Damn, those bright emeralds that shine brighter than the sun. Sorry. Why do you ask for forgiveness? For doubting you, she hugs him, hiding her face in his chest, while she feels his hands slowly begin to surround her hip, pulling him close. It doesn't matter, I understand. I'm scared too. But if I'm with you, I think it'll go away a little. He says with a silly smile, admiring her. She lifts her head to see his face again. Even though it's covered in scars, it only proves his true courage. Wanting to help others no matter what, not being afraid when the moment calls for it, putting your body and soul before everything else in order to protect those you love. With a bit of a soft laugh, she looks at him. A little? I'm not Superman anyway. I'm still human. I like that about you. And I like you. Silence returned, something that had dominated the place before their presence, taking it back before they realized it. But even with them there, he didn't want to interrupt them. They were looking at each other in a moment where it was just them. Without words and without hesitation, their eyes said more than they needed to, their mouths had already spoken enough, now it was their heart's turn to speak. Connecting in the way only love knew how, they bridged the gap of distance, having the most intimate conversation two people can have. Maybe it was the silence of their constant connections, or maybe it was the rest and tiredness they both displayed, but not a sound was ever heard during any of those moments. Perhaps it was the ghosts who drowned out the noise they might have made at some point, and so as not to interrupt them, they didn't even utter a word. Perhaps it was the lost souls, condemned to see what true love is, who did not interfere with each other just for the smallest detail of not wanting to disconnect them from themselves. Perhaps it was their desire to be alone that allowed the peaceful situation to dominate them both in complete solitude. Who knows what the real reason was? But that moment has no witnesses other than the nocturnal beings themselves that walk through the darkest nights and the cloudiest days. Of their act, there were only the two of them, and the moon, watching them like two ghosts connecting to declare their love.